The smell of hell forced a general to witness unimaginable horror. April 4, 1945. Allied armies were pushing across Germany. It was warm, trees were blooming, felt like spring. But as US jeeps approached Gotha, they hit a wall. Not concrete, but a wall of smell. A stench so thick and overpowering, soldiers gagged. Like rotting meat, burning hair, like hell. General George S. Patton was in his car. He sniffed the air. He guessed a chemical or glue factory using dead horses. He called his officers. "What is that smell?" "Find out." Hours later, a jeep returned. The officer inside was pale, shaking. He looked terrified. He told Patton, "General, you have to see this. You won't believe it." Patton, curious, drove there. It was Ohrdruf, the first Nazi concentration camp the US Army liberated on the Western Front. What Patton saw inside changed him. The man known as Old Blood and Guts. The man who loved war, who'd seen thousands die in battle, walked behind a shed and vomited. Then came rage, cold, terrifying rage. He didn't just want to free prisoners. He wanted justice. He looked at the tidy town nearby. He saw German civilians peering from windows, pretending ignorance. He gave a historic order. Round them up. Bring the mayor. Bring his wife. Bring the baker. Bring the butcher. They claim ignorance? Well, they'll know now. This is the story of Ohrdruf's liberation, the day Patton forced a German town to see hell at gunpoint. And the shocking suicide that followed. To grasp Patton's rage, you must see what he saw. Ohrdruf wasn't a huge death camp like Auschwitz. It was a subcamp of Buchenwald. But it was horrific. As the 4th Armored Division arrived, SS guards had fled. But they tried to cover their tracks. They machine-gunned prisoners too sick to walk. Piled the bodies in a shed. Covered them with quicklime to dissolve flesh. But ran out of time. When American soldiers entered, they were met by walking skeletons. Men in striped pajamas, weighing only 60 to 70 pounds. Their eyes were huge in sunken faces. The prisoners didn't cheer. They were too weak. They just touched the tanks. Weeping, touching the white stars on the armor. To confirm they were real. General Walton Walker, a tough commander of Pattons, called Patton. "General, come at once." Patton arrived with Generals Omar Bradley and Dwight Eisenhower. The 3 most powerful men in the US Army. They'd sent millions to die. They thought they were hardened. They were wrong. Patton entered grim-faced, crop in hand, polished helmet gleaming, looking like a conqueror. But as he went deeper, his posture changed. He saw the Appelplatz, the roll call area. Bodies were stacked like wood. 20, 30, 40. Naked, starved, shot in the neck. Patton approached a pile. He stared. My God! A survivor, a skeletal man, crawled to Patton. He tried to kiss Patton's boots. Patton gently stepped back. He helped the man up. Tears streamed down his face. Then they found the torture shed. Inside was a whipping block. The wood was dark with old blood. Hooks on the wall where men were hung until they suffocated. The camp guide, a prisoner fluent in English, explained how guards beat men to death for sport. Eisenhower turned deathly pale. He looked like a statue. Bradley was silent, speechless. But Patton was vibrating with fury. He went to the back of the shed. His aide saw his shoulders heave. The world's toughest general was sick. When he returned, his voice was different. Not a general's voice. It was a prosecutor's. He addressed a young MP. "Did the townspeople know about this?" The MP replied. "They claim ignorance, General. They thought it was a prison for criminals." Patton laughed, a dark, bitter sound. "They didn't know. The smell alone covered the whole county. They knew." Patton didn't wait for Eisenhower's approval. He took charge. He summoned the provost marshal. He pointed his riding crop at Ohrdruf. A beautiful, medieval German town. Clean streets, flower boxes. Just 2 miles from the dead. Patton gave the order. "Go into that town, find the mayor, his wife, every big shot, the bankers, the doctors, and bring them here." The MP asked, "Sir, what if they refuse?" Patton's hand went to his revolver. "They won't. Use trucks, use bayonets if you must, but every one of them will tour this camp. Today." It was a punishment not found in any rulebook. It was forced witnessing. Patton wanted to shatter their denial. He wanted to make them face the filth they'd backed. The next morning, trucks arrived. The townspeople of Ohrdruf got out. They were dressed up. Men in suits. Women in dresses. They looked annoyed. They looked offended. Some grumbled about the smell. Some held hankies to their noses. They still acted superior. They were Germans. The master race. Why were they brought to this foul place? Patton ordered MPs to form a line. "March them through," he said. "Don't let them look away. If they close their eyes, poke them with a rifle butt. Make them look." The tour began. Civilians were led to the first pile of bodies. They stopped. The chatter ceased. The complaints stopped. Only the wind and flies buzzed. They stared at the starved corpses. Bodies like sticks wrapped in parchment. Some civilians gasped. One woman fainted. But the MPs pushed them on. "Vita, move." They were led to the whipping block. They were led to the ovens. They were forced to look into the dead eyes. Patton watched them intently. He wanted to see their reaction. At first, they looked shocked. Then, horrified. But then, Patton noticed something else. Guilt. Some men began to cry. Some women were hysterical. But some just looked down. They knew. Deep down, they'd always known. They'd just chosen not to see. Patton approached the mayor. The mayor trembled. Patton met his gaze. "You knew, didn't you?" The mayor stayed silent. He just shook his head. Tears streamed down his face. Patton turned to his staff. "See? They aren't the master race. They are just people who lost their souls." The tour lasted 2 hours. By the end, the townspeople were broken. Their arrogance vanished. They were covered in camp dust. The stench of death clung to them. They were loaded back onto trucks. Silent. They returned to their neat homes. Patton felt satisfied. He had delivered justice. He wrote to his wife that night. "I've never felt so angry. But I believe we taught them a lesson they'll never forget." But the lesson was too much for some. The mayor and his wife went home. They entered their house. They sat in their living room. Perhaps they talked about it. Perhaps they sat in silence. We don't know what they said, but we know what they did. The next morning, soldiers came to deliver more orders. They knocked. No reply. They knocked again. They broke the door down. Inside, they found the couple. Dead. They cut their own wrists. A note lay beside them. Written in German, it said little but implied much: "We cannot live with this shame." When Patton heard of the suicide, he showed no pity. He nodded grimly. "Well, that's too few Nazis to feed." It sounds harsh, but Patton had seen the innocent dead. He had no tears left for the guilty. The Ohrdruf incident didn't just affect Patton, it changed Dwight Eisenhower forever. Eisenhower was usually calm. But after seeing Ohrdruf, he became a crusader. He realized future generations might deny this happened. He realized people would call it propaganda. So Eisenhower issued a command to all nearby units: bring cameras. Bring reporters. Photograph everything. Film everything. He famously said, "Get it all on record now, because the day will come when some son of a bitch will claim this never happened." He ordered every American soldier in the area, thousands of them, to tour the camp. He wanted his boys to understand why they were fighting, why their friends died. Before Ohrdruf, many US soldiers thought the war was just politics, territory, maps. After Ohrdruf, they knew it was good versus evil. One young GI wrote in his diary, "I'll never feel sorry for a German again. I know what we're fighting for now. We're fighting monsters." Ohrdruf was small compared to camps like Buchenwald or Dachau. But it was the first. It was the camp that woke the world up. Because of Patton's anger and his order to march civilians through the gates, the secrecy was ripped away. Germans could no longer say "Wir haben es nicht gewusst." We didn't know. Patton made sure they knew. This event hardened American attitudes towards Germany. The friendly occupation ended. Denazification began. Patton, often criticized for being too soft on former Nazis later, was actually the one who exposed their crimes most brutally at the start. George S. Patton is remembered for his tanks, for his ivory pistols, for his speeches about blood and guts. But on that sunny April day in 1945 he wasn't a general. He was a human confronted with pure evil. And his response wasn't to look away. His response was to grab evil by the neck and force the world to look. The mayor of Ohrdruf couldn't live with what he saw. But thanks to Patton, the world can never forget it. Patton was right. Today, people still deny these things happened. Eisenhower warned us. By watching this, you're keeping the truth alive. If you think this story must be remembered, please like the video so YouTube shows it to more people. And subscribe.